Your candles are burning low. You got maybe 3 more hours of light, a few matches left, and then it's dark. You didn't stockpile enough. You thought the grid would hold, but the lines are down, the stores are locked, or the roads are blocked. And now you're staring at long nights, cold rooms, and no way to see past your own hands. Modern electricity is a marvel of convenience, but it's also a chain of dependency. Its power comes from distant plants, its delivery from fragile grids, its backup from batteries that degrade. Break any link and basic illumination becomes impossible. 1,000 years ago, medieval settlers and frontier families were reading manuscripts, working through winters, and navigating dark forests. They didn't have power grids. They had no utility companies. But they were never left in the dark. Historical records from household inventories mention they kept steady, reliable light using simple materials. They weren't buying bulbs. They were making them using a process so straightforward you can do it on your kitchen counter with 2 ingredients you can find almost anywhere: animal fat and natural fiber. They were turning waste into unlimited light. So what is a candle? Physically, it's the result of capillary action and controlled combustion. A wick draws liquid fuel upward through tiny channels. When the flame heats the fuel, it vaporizes and burns cleanly. The wick chars just enough to sustain the flame without burning out. That's how all candles work. The difference is the fuel. Commercial candles use refined paraffin, a petroleum byproduct you can't make at home. The settlers didn't have refineries. They made their fuel, called tallow, from simple animal fat. Here's how. When you trim fat from beef or mutton, the raw suet is full of triglycerides. It's heat stable. So they would chop the suet into small pieces, place it in a heavy pot over low heat, and let it slowly render. The water evaporates, the solids crisp up, and you strain out the clear liquid. That liquid is rendered tallow. It's a clean-burning fuel, solid at room temperature, so you handle it while warm. But how did they know it was pure enough for steady light? They used the chill test. A drop of hot tallow on a cold plate will turn cloudy and brittle if impure, but in properly rendered tallow, it's set smooth, hard, and translucent. It's a beautifully simple and effective measurement of purity that requires zero equipment. Once you have your tallow, you need a wick. The settlers used whatever was available: hemp rope, braided linen, twisted cotton from old garments. They saved scraps from sewing and unraveled worn-out sacks. Nothing was wasted. The process is straightforward. You gently melt the rendered tallow until it's fully liquid. Then you dip your braided wick into the hot fat and pull it out straight. You let it cool and harden for a few seconds, then dip again. The coating immediately builds up, getting thicker and more uniform. After 20 or 30 minutes of repeated dipping, the candle reaches what chandlers call the proper thickness. It's thick enough to stand on its own and burn for hours. At this point, you have a choice. The settlers often made dip candles simple and utilitarian. To do this, you just keep dipping and cooling until the candle is the size you need. The result is a reliable, long-burning light, ready to use the same day for reading, cooking, and navigation. For molded candles, you pour the melted tallow into tin or clay molds with suspended wick. Let it harden for an hour, and then let it cure in a cool place for a day. During this cure, the fat contracts slightly, the wick centers itself, and the candle becomes smooth and drip-resistant. Now, a crucial word on safety. Hot tallow is dangerous. Its temperature exceeds 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It will cause severe burns and ignite if overheated. Always use a heavy pot and keep a lid nearby. Work on a stable surface away from drafts. The settlers used wooden tongs and leather aprons. You can use heat-resistant gloves. If any splashes on your skin, don't panic. Just rinse immediately with cool water and remove soaked clothing. They understood this wasn't a careless task. It was a craft they treated with respect. Let's walk through it from scratch. 1. Collect suet or fat trimmings. 2. Render it slowly over low heat and strain through cloth to create pure tallow. 3. Test its purity with the chill plate method. 4. Braid natural fiber into a tight wick. 5. Melt the tallow. Repeatedly dip the wick and cool between dips until it reaches proper thickness. 6. For quick candles, keep dipping. For molded candles, pour into forms and let them set. That's the entire process. Fat to tallow, tallow and wick to light. No petroleum inputs, no power grid. This light is incredibly reliable. It's steady enough to read by and bright enough to work through winter evenings. Historical records show this wasn't a specialized trade. It was a common household task. And it represents a profound mindset shift. We see light as a utility we pay for. They saw it as something you create from scraps, fat from animals they already raised, fiber from clothes they already wore. They weren't buying illumination. They were transforming byproducts into a tool for survival. This knowledge is still just as potent today. During the Great Depression and wartime blackouts, families in rural areas reverted to making tallow candles exactly this way. The skill was still there, waiting. You can learn it, too. A single afternoon of rendering and dipping from a few pounds of fat can produce months' worth of light for one household. The resource input is minimal. The output is independence. When you learn to make candles, you aren't just learning a historical craft. You're gaining a capability that can't be switched off. When everyone else is fumbling in the dark, you'll be casting steady light from kitchen scraps. The time to learn is not when the grid fails. It's now when you have the time and resources to experiment, to make a crooked batch, and just try again. The settlers didn't have that luxury. Their safety depended on getting it right. But they did, generation after generation. Staying lit in a world without switches, that knowledge still works. The physics hasn't changed. Unlimited light made from waste costing nothing. That's not ancient history. That's resilience. That's what happens when you stop paying for light and start making it.